Hello, everyone. Well, we don't need this, because that's been done. But creative is the new targeting, and that's what we're going to talk to you about today. Hi, Alix.
Hi, Matt. And hello, MadFest. This is my first ever MadFest, and wow, the energy in the room is electric. Full house. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. I'm Alix, agency partner over at Meta, and I have the absolute privilege with working with Matt and the amazing Brave Bison team that are down the front here. My role is working through innovation and growth strategies, and what we're most excited to talk to you guys today is the power of creative and how that can drive performance for all of your amazing brands.
Speaking of which, I've been doing performance creative for more years than I care to remember now. I also do AI, but that's another story, which we'll get onto in another talk. So yeah, this is about performance creative. Just a bit about Brave Bison before we get fully into it. We're the agency that capitalizes on complexity from trend to spend. And there's kind of a gradient that we work with. So at the trendy end of things, we've got the digital media network, sport and entertainment marketing business, which is Engage. In the middle, we have Social Chain, needs no further introduction. And then Brave Bison down at the spendy end of the gradient, which does paid performance. That's the main subject matter for today. Organic performance and technology and experience. So there you go, in a nutshell. We are all about newness, of course. The rate of change is faster than ever, as we are all very well aware. We deal with new behaviors, new audiences, new trends and technologies, in particular with our lovely tight-knit work with Meta. Don't we?
That's right. And wow, so much has changed. Behaviors, audiences, trends, and technologies, as Matt has just shared too. And I think through a combined partnership with us, pulling that all together can really help drive the best possible performance. Now, when it comes to driving the best possible performance, there's always also areas that we want to watch out for. So I'm going to go through a bit of a rapid fire on 3 areas to watch out for when you're thinking of building creative. Number 1, a staggering 50% of ad spend in creative is not fit for social purpose. With that huge stat in mind, which ladders into the next area. So 56% of the auction is attributed to creative. So you can see the importance of why we really need to ensure that we're building for social first and fit for purpose. And number 3, creative fatigue. So when your assets are hitting exposures over 4 times, that is when we are hitting fatigue and affecting your conversions by a staggering 60%. So with all 3 of those in mind, Matt, what are some key ways that we can do to combat that?
We've built a solution for all of those problems and then some. It's called Ad Studio. Its sole purpose is to make performance creative. And there are 3 main elements to how we do that. It starts with creative strategy, which is, in terms of performance, still a kind of a relatively new practice and field, but utterly pivotal to how we make performance creative in the here and now. Creative production sits in the middle, of course. We have to make all of those ads, and we have to do it at speed and scale. So delivery management is also key to how this machine works. We call it it's kind of a product as a service, Ad Studio, sitting within the performance part of Brave Bison. Paid performance, that is. Underpinning it, creative testing, absolutely key. It happens all the time. It delivers incremental performance. And then we are, almost goes without saying, AI-enabled to a large degree. And we'll talk a little bit about that in the next few minutes. So that's Ad Studio. That's how we do performance creative at Brave Bison. Now, let's think about some of the so-called creative crimes and misdemeanors, the reasons why your creative might not be performing. We're going to play a little bit of tennis here, aren't we, Alix?
We are.
A little bit of a rally. Okay, so the first reason is that you might be thinking about your audience last. Now, targeting is broad now, of course, and getting broader all the time on platform. So we need to be thinking about our audience mindsets, who the clusters and the segments are in our audiences, and reaching those guys for all of the different mindsets and contexts, et cetera, that they're dealing with on a daily basis, all of the different people that they even are on a daily basis. 15 love.
Thank you. Number 2, speed of the feed. If you're not capturing your audience within the first 2 seconds, creating that thumb-stopping content, it is simply not going to be seen. Over to you, Matt.
All right, stranger danger. If you're still running that TVC, which has been shot, by the way, in 16:9 format as your kind of main hero asset, then you're probably in a little bit of trouble. We've got to be native to the feed. Again, I think a lot of people know this, but it's surprising how we still see this occurring time after time. So yeah, very important. But just a quick tip, if you're going to be shooting a TVC, just get a creator or some kind of social native out and shoot with you.
Number 4, wrong time, wrong place. Being conscious about where you show up, where your audience is, on the commute home, lying on the beach, on the rush to work. Being conscious with what you show up and reflective of the behaviors can really help drive performance. Number 5.
All right, new slide, number 5. What are we at? 30 all, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah.
Wrong format, wrong aspect. Again, think about the feed, right? We've got to make sure that we're 9:16 first. We're vertical first. Again, it's surprising how often we see this, the wrong use of the wrong aspect. And just a little stat for you on that, making sure that you are designing for the feed, is that we see a 14% lower cost per purchase when we have material that fits the safe zones and adheres to all of the rules of the feed.
That is one of my pet hates, and I always think of flipping the scripts when it comes to that one. Number 6, cultural miscues. If you're thinking, I'm just going to run that global creative across all of my campaigns, across all of the countries, think again. Any creative that is landing, if it's not going to land from a cultural standpoint, it's simply not going to drive performance. A way to address this is through creators. Creators are the cultural zeitgeist and can drive authenticity into each of your markets. 40 love?
All right. 40 love? Come on. Death by static. So static still has a place, of course, but we are much more kind of video first now. And that has got to be our kind of guiding light. But if you're going to do static, then make it interesting. Maybe bring some subtle movement into it. Don't make everything static, and don't be too static heavy. Finally, right, advantage me, I think. I don't know about...
Taking it home, advantage point, set and forget. We are absolutely obsessed when it comes to measurement at Meta. It is so important to always be in a constant testing mindset, working out what is working and, most importantly, what isn't working, so you can pivot your creative to ensure you're always optimizing performance.
All right, so phones at the ready. This is going to be quick fire, but we've got a 3-step playbook for you to performance creative Shangri-La. That's not the same Shangri-La that many of you lost your heads at the weekend. This is a very different one, so stay with us. This is going to be fast. Step 1, who are your people? We talked about being audience last. We need to be audience first, of course, so we need to think about what their goals, motivations, frustrations, tensions, and needs are. These are new kind of psychographic elements that we're looking at in terms of our personas, which we haven't really had the power to look at deeply up until recent times. So we need to think about how we're going to speak to those, right? We've developed a thing at Bison, a tool called Audience GPT. This essentially brings our client audiences to life through the power of being able to bring first-party data from our clients into a chat interface. Of course, it's AI, right? In this case here, we've got a fashion buyer, premium fashion persona, that we're pre-flighting some creative on. So we're showing him some some UGC and some brand creative, asking a few simple open-ended questions about what he thinks about that. From that, we can get a bunch of insight. We can work with it to improve the creative before it even goes out to market. So Audience GPT, we call it a focus group at our fingertips because that's exactly what it does. Many, many more use cases for it. That's it in a nutshell. Oh, and it won an award a few weeks ago at Campaign as well, so that was nice. Thank you. Step 2.
Designing for creative diversity. It's becoming a bit of a buzzword, but what is creative diversity? So that's when you're using a mixture of messages, formats, and visuals to truly be creatively diversified. Why is it so important? It helps unlock new audiences and also drive performance.
Right. So you might think that this is diverse. I don't know about you, Alex. Do you think this is diverse?
I'm not sure.
Spoiler, no, not diverse. Now, the reason you might think this is diverse is because we've got 2 different pictures, 2 different headlines, got a CTA there, don't have what. It's not diverse. The algo sees this as similar creative. It's too similar. It's not going to win the auction, basically. The other thing that we were doing with this was testing out some sustainability messaging on a travel audience. 5 minutes, wow, okay. We might be about 1 minute over. So yeah, this was not diverse, didn't work. On the other hand, this is diversity on one slide. we're using a bunch of different content. We're using UGC, we're using brand shot. We're working with different hooks, we're working with different headlines, we're working with different formats. There's a mix of static and video. Most of this is video, by the way, but we broke PowerPoint, so we couldn't use all of the motion assets, so most of it actually moves. Making use of all of the formats and the range of placements that we can work with on Meta. So in a nutshell, that is creative diversity, for anyone wondering. But there's something else, isn't there?
There is. That slide just brings so much joy to me because it is so diverse. So what is another way to ensure that we're powering creative diversification? Through creators. 2 trillion minutes are spent every single day in Meta platforms in creator content. We've developed this approach at Meta, the 2020. So on one side, we're now recommending that creators are not just a nice to have, but they are actually now a necessity. So when you input 20% of partnership ads into your creative, it actually impacts intent by a staggering 71%. And on the other hand of the coin, the other 2020, to power the AI and to power that creative diversification alongside your creator content, we're now recommending 20-plus creatives to power your performance. And you can see some of the staggering stats there of increasing efficiency with a 29% lower incremental cost per action. It also helps address that niggling area that we saw up front when it comes to creative fatigue. So in a nutshell, more creative is more results.
Indeed. And now we're out in the wild, but as we were saying earlier on, we do not ever set and forget. Step 3 on our path to performance creative Shangri-La is testing, which is all important. Now, spoiler alert, health warning, this is probably the most boring slide in the presentation, but one of the most important. What does a creative test look like right now? Well, it has to start with a business challenge, which is perhaps a different way of thinking about testing to how we've thought about testing before. The other thing that it has to start with is a pure outcome in mind. What is your goal of a given test? What do you want to see? Don't just test for testing's sake. Anyway, in this case, our business challenge is that we want to be more creatively diverse. There's a lot of meat in the middle, though, isn't there?
There is. So if your head is still in Shangri-La, this one might be a little bit chunky for you. But this is an example of some of the measurement that Matt and I have collaborated on to ensure that we're always in that setting and testing mindset. So this is an example of a test developed by our marketing science team. So taking in that business challenge and ensuring that we are aligned to understand what the hypothesis is. And here, is creator content going to improve creative fatigue and performance? Well, we hope so. And then seeing the variable here is adding that creator content into the mix. So back to that point I mentioned earlier on about the 2020 approach and the methodology and KPIs, all crucial components to make sure that we're making up for a very regimented test. With all of that in Matt, what's next?
So the outcome, I talked about that we want to achieve our post-learning implementation plan as manifested here, is that we want to see creator content, more of that going forward. I think you've got the picture now that creators are going to be ever more important going forward. So that's what we're looking to establish as our outcome of the test. Okay, so how do we know that works? Well, here's our travel client again. I'm going to have to just press play a few times here to get all the videos working. They came to us last year with a problem of having huge untapped media spend through sheer lack of creative to put out there in the feed. It's a volume game, but it's also a creative targeting game now, as we know as well. So we were asked to make performance creative for global markets to sweat their existing assets, which is like a key point. You don't have to go out there and make a bunch of assets. They had a whole dam full of assets that we've been able to work with for at least a year, and there's still some going there. So yeah, you don't need to spend a lot. Of course, we had to do it fast, and we had to do it at high volume. Our response, audience-led, right? You get the picture. And we are iteratively testing and learning for them all the time to look for incremental performance, which you can see down here has been rather nice. OK, so last chance, everyone. These are your 3 steps to performance creative Shangri-La, all right? And I'll leave you with this. Any brands in the room? Scan the QR code, take a picture of it, whatever you want to do, and you will be in the hat to win a bespoke creative snapshot. audit, even. There you go. I've been me, you've been you. Thanks,
Yeah.
Alix.
Thank you, and diversify, diversify, diversify.
Diversify. Thank you.
Thank you.